but it's just to show the rich history, the rich impact. Um, and it's just an honor to be here tonight to speak on the night that we're honoring Pastor Gayle. And I'm in two ministries that she liaisons the music and the youth. And so there's just a long history of mentorship. And so many words have been spoken tonight to reflect the character and the mentorship of Pastor Gayle. But let me add just a little bit more. Pastor Gayle, I am grateful for the mentorship that you have provided me in the process of getting my ministerial license. She had to put some fire under my behind because I have a problem with deadlines, and but she gave me a stern talking to put me back on track, and I'm just so grateful for your mentorship and getting me to where I am now. So thank you. And in regards to that, in regards to mentorship with leading the youth, with co-leading alongside Matthew, the constant phone calls, the constant guidance, it is much appreciated. And we are indeed happy and sad all at the same time, as you've been hearing all night. But we know that when the appointed time, the Kairos time, has arrived, a time only God can call, then there's nothing you can do but step back and watch God move. The scripture will be taken from Genesis 8. And if we had time, I'd read the whole chapter, but let's just zone in on one verse, verse 22, which says, "As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease." The topic of today's sermon is called seasons. In the scripture that was just read, God was promising Noah that he will never disrupt the seasons again. He said, as long as the earth is in existence, so will its seasons be. When God flooded the earth, seasons went out the window as God was looking to do basically a revamping of the world. In the natural world, we have winter, spring, summer, fall. All of the seasons are important. Each season has its own benefit, and each season accomplishes something different. Let's zone in on the winter season as it relates to nature. By design, winter is a time of rest for the natural world. Plants and animals in all different climates slow down in winter and benefit from the chance to restore. Some plants won't bloom in spring if they do not go through their period of cold. Some gardeners, in fact, awaken dormant seeds by putting them in the fridge before planting them. That's because some of our best loved wildflowers need a period of cold to break the dormancy of seeds or to promote flowering. I know this because I have recently been bit by the gardening bug, and I've been revamping the garden by around my house. And I've been doing lots of research, and I'm learning so much about how nature works and how seasons are beneficial. So those are some of the benefits of winter regarding nature. Let's move on to the spring season. Spring brings the return of animals that hibernate or migrated during the winter. Spring is also a season of new life, with many plants blooming, warmer temperatures, longer days, and more sunlight provides ideal conditions for plants to take root and grow. Spring is also an important time for planting because crops can mature on time. Seeds that were planted in the winter often begin to bloom in the spring. Now on to summer. It's the most exciting time of the year for many gardeners, thanks to all the vigorous growth you can see. It's gratifying to see those tiny little seedlings growing up and flowering and even beginning to fruit. I literally scream. I decided to uproot some plants in my backyard from the previous owners and plant some new plants that I would like to see grow. And about a few days after I planted, I was super excited just to see a little bit of sprout come up. I screamed, I took a picture, and I texted so much people because it made my day to know that all of my hard work wasn't in vain. Plants grow well in the summer because longer days mean extra sunlight for photosynthesis, the process by which plants use sunlight to create fuel from carbon dioxide and water. Just like with us, plants that are well fed generally grow faster. Now let's go to the fall season. Many plants and animals prepare for winter by increasing food take, reducing resource needs, or migrating. Fall is traditionally a time of harvest, when crops are gathered and stored for the winter. This abundance of fresh produce can be enjoyed in a variety of ways, from apple picking to pumpkin carving to enjoying seasonal dishes like pies and soups. Fall brings beautiful colors of the leaves as trees prepare for the winter. Fall also brings cooler temperatures after the heat of the summer and before the cold of winter. The crisp, refreshing air of autumn is often seen as comfortable and invigorating. Each season serves a purpose. In each season, there are really awesome things about it, and there could also be some rough spots. For example, the winter season, it gives rest to plants and animals, but its frigid cold can also negatively affect plants that are not prepped for it, If you don't prune the summer blooms down, you're going to get long, strangly, dead-looking branches in the winter. If you want a beautiful garden in the spring, you have to plant those seeds so that they can sprout in season. Planted seeds will sprout at its best in season. Make sure you're putting yourself in a position to reap the benefits from the season you're in. That's a quick description of our seasons we experience in the natural. We also experience many seasons spiritually and throughout our lives. As long as the earth is in existence, seasons will exist. God made sure of it when he promised to never flood the earth again. As in the natural, so in the spiritual. As long as you are breathing, there will be some kind of season that you are in. Let's circle back to the scripture that was read. God was telling Noah that he will never flood the earth again. As long as the earth remains, summer will be summer, winter will be winter. The course of nature will not be disrupted. Let's go earlier into Genesis chapter 8. This is the chapter right after God flooded the earth, and Noah is in the ark with his family and all of the animals. When reading the story, the timeline of it all intrigued me. When God told Noah to enter the ark, it didn't start raining right away. They were in that ark on dry land for 7 days. Now imagine the thoughts that must have went through their minds. The faith that it took for them to remain in that boat on dry land for 7 days. Now, God did tell Noah it would take 7 days, but just imagine just being on this boat on dry land. It must have felt humiliating for them. All the people that are out on the, outside of the boat looking, I thought you said it was going to rain, and it must have been humiliating for them just sitting on this boat on dry land for 7 days, especially if there's no cloud in sight. Let's go further into the timeline. 7 days later, floodwaters came on the earth, and it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. On the 150th day, God remembered Noah, and the waters started receding, and the ark rested on a mountain called Arak. I can imagine Noah and his family getting excited at this moment, probably thinking, it must be time to leave this boat now. Let's get out here. It stinks, it's smelly. I went out, the boat stopped, it must be time to leave. only to find out the time did not yet come for them to leave. Let's jump back into the timeline. Approximately 3 months later, the tops of the mountains became visible from the water receding. They were in the boat for 74 additional days before the water receded enough for the tops of the mountains to be visible. Then another 40 days passed. In hopes of some good news, Noah sent out a raven to see if the waters had gone down enough. Then he sent out a dove. But the dove could find nowhere to land. He waited 7 more days, and the dove returned this time around with a freshly plucked olive leaf. Yes, they must have thought, now this is the time that we leave the boat. Hope must have filled their minds and hearts because they've been waiting, what they've been waiting for has finally come. But Noah still had to wait 7 more days. So imagine the frustration of the family. Like Noah's hearing from God, but the family is just going along with what Noah's saying. So imagine their frustration, right? So close to your promise. So close to your season. So what you've been waiting for, and still can't walk in it as yet. Back to the timeline. We left off when the dove came back with the branch. So after he waited 7 more days, he sent the dove out again, and this time the dove did not return. Now, finally, this is the time. Noah and his family must have been so excited and thought today is the day. Nope. He waited 29 more days. So 29 days later, Noah removed the covering of the ark and confirmed that the earth was dry from what he could see. 29 days pass, removes the covering, he looks out, the earth is dry. So he sees it, he confirms it with his eyes. Now has to be the time, right? They leave and walk into their new season. Not yet. They had to wait an additional 56 days after they saw with their own eyes that the land was dry. Noah and his family stayed on that ark because they had to wait for God to say it was time. They had to wait for their appointed time. Imagine seeing your promise right in front of you and you're not able to walk in it. That is what they experienced. That is what many of us experience. 56 days after they saw that the land was dry with their own eyes, God then commanded Noah and his family and the animals to leave the ark. Finally, their feet touched dry land after waiting a total of 370 days. Within that time span from when it started raining to the moment that they put their feet on dry land, within that time span, the hope of leaving must have surfaced multiple times. But Noah could not budge until God said, move. Just because you may feel the circumstances are perfect for you to make your move or perfect for you to be in the season you want to be in, it doesn't mean you make that move without God. Things will be a lot harder for you if you're trying to operate out of season. You don't know what God was trying to protect Noah and his family from, and we don't have to know. We just need to trust that God has your best interest at heart. And if he is saying not to move, there is a reason. If he is saying move, then it is your time. What you see does not indicate your time. What you hear does. When God says stay, you stay. But when God says go, you go. Nothing can stop the move of God when it is your appointed time. Pastor Gayle, You have now arrived at your appointed time for you to walk into your new season. You have remained faithful in all of the responsibilities and all of the tasks that God has given you in your previous seasons. And I know there must have been many highs and many lows, but God is honoring your faithfulness. And just understand that Pastor Gayle had to go through many seasons in her life to get through this appointed time. We've heard all the stories. We've heard of the history and the schooling and the principalship and the mentorship throughout many, and the loss. We've heard all of these things, and all of that led to this moment. So just as Pastor Gayle had to go through many seasons in her life to get to this appointed time, same way Noah and his family had to go through theirs, and same way you have to go through yours. Being faithful in the season you are in now determines whether or not you'll be ready for when your appointed time comes. Until then, go through your seasons and learn what you're supposed to learn from each season you go through, because each season is necessary to lead you into your appointed time. Thank you.